It is kind of land that's not been developed on yet, I suppose, for want of a better word, but has or could be developed in the future, or say a landowner would like to develop in the future. So you need to kind of try and, for want of a better word, get your punch in early, so to speak, with the planning authority, and basically that's so you can sort of set the principal development, get agreement, make sure it's policy compliant, or kind of get it accepted into a local plan for future development. So it means that say if you're a housing developer or a logistics sort of sheds developer, then you've kind of constantly, got your next site, you've got your next bit of land, you know where your supply is, you can plan around that, and also then conversely from local government and sort of local policy and planning policy and local plans, they've decided where they're going to zone housing, they're going to zone industry. So it's kind of a backwards and forwards between sort of statutory bodies of, say, local government and also developers who want to get their sites promoted, but it's often sites that are not specifically defined as already sort of the strategic developable areas, or they're in the kind of green belt or the countryside or something like that. I think it was unique for me because it was my first kind of proper big strategic land and commercial project all in one. So it was at Junction 21 on the M6 in Warrington, and one of our clients, Iceni Projects, approached us to look at sites. So Warrington were doing call for sites, and family got this land through inheritance, and they were like, well, what can we do with it? And it's an old quarry, it's next to the River Mersey, but it's right next to Junction 21, so strategically in terms of access and transport links, it was basically saying, commercial, but the big issue was that it was flood zone 3, which is basically you can't build on it, and then part of it was flood zone 3B, which is functional floodplain, which is absolute no-no. Sort of looked at the site at first and we're like, oh crikey. Then we sort of looked a bit around policy, about what you can, what is permitted development, realised that you could actually do commercial units, offices, as long as you had flood resilience and all your electrics and everything up the top. And then through working with the hydrology, ecology, ARB, geo and landscape teams, we kind of did a full desktop appraisal, which kind of then sort of identified what would be like flow pathways for the catchment and everything going down to the Mersey, the extents of the functional floodplain, and sort of started to give us a bit of a framework that we could look at. And then the ecology and ARB and landscape teams went and walked the site, got a bit more of a feel for it, and off the back of that we were able to develop a proposal where we were able to get, I think there's about 3 large shed units and potential office development, but instead of sort of trying to work against the site, we were delivering a betterment to the Mersey corridor, improving the floodplain, improving the water quality, and sort of improving the 2 flow channel catchments. And through the kind of excavations we're doing, the commercial elements were going to be on a kind of like raised platform, so you were mitigating the flood risk. So basically we're able to realise a site for it to be called in, accepted on the call for sites. But the main constraint on that project was flood risk. Because it was all flood zone 3 behind like one corner of the site, and obviously the bit along the River Mersey was the flood zone 3B, which is the functional floodplain. Ecology had some constraints because they've got the Mersey corridor, so there were a couple of SSI and a couple of what are called Ramsar sites, which are now, since we've left Europe, not as relevant. So we had to kind of think about the sensitivities of those, and also part of it being an old quarry site and there'd been some illegal fly tipping and everything like that, so we had to work out a kind of mitigation and remediation strategy, but that was all part of improving the functional floodplain as well. So we were able to kind of use that as a kind of lever to start developing the site and building up the platforms for commercial development.